Hey there, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Local Influencers Podcast. I'm your host, Abel, and today I am joined by local blogger Monica from CC Bucket List. Monica, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
For sure. So I have been following Monica for quite some time, and if you're listening, you probably follow her too. Because if you are looking for anything to do, anywhere to eat local, Monica's Instagram and blog is definitely the place to be. So, Monica, let's start from the beginning. I know that you started, I believe, in 2019 with this
Yes.
adventure. So, what made you kind of say, you know what, let me get this and start developing this kind of like online blog and kind of like you said, I think you're saying your blog helps small businesses. Like, what made you want to do that?
Yeah, I started in 2019 and I was just sharing privately with friends and family. And after a year and everything I was doing, it was for the first time. It were things that I had never done before, places I had never been to, festivals I had never done. And I was just sharing with friends and family. And at the 1 year anniversary, I had made a post and I did like a recap reel of everything I had done that year. And my friend messaged me and was like, "You really should make it a public platform, because he's like, I have friends that come from out of town. I have family that comes from out of town. And I'd love to share like where you're going, what you're doing, or things that are going on. So they would know too. And since everything was private, they couldn't share with their friends and family. And so it took a year to build up a little bit of the guts to do it. And after the 1 year, I kind of just squinted my eye and hit, set up, create account, and just went with it. And so the first probably month that I made it a public account, I was just recounting everything I had done that year. Just so that way, everything that I had done the year before, everyone could now see. And then after that month, everything that I did after that was all new stuff, was all current, like real time, everything I was doing.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I've met Monica last year. We met for like brunch type of thing, and I was doing things with Dine 361. Our friend Marissa kind of was the leader of that. Shout out to my friend Marissa.
Yes,
Um, yes, Dine 361 was like an online blog. And the Instagram account is still being ran, but she's busy with two kids. So
yes.
Marissa is actually the reason why I kind of branched off into my own and kind of wanted to do this. And so I also wanted to help small businesses. And really, I was like, you know what? Not just small businesses. I think local content creators like yourself, local influencers. That's why I entitled the local influencers. And really just everyone in general doing something good in our community. I feel like um, people like you and platforms like ours, I feel like it helps people that say like, oh, there's something to do in Corpus. I'm like, well, there's a lot to do if you look.
Yes. Oh, there's so much to do that usually on a weekend, I really have to pick and choose. Okay, what are the places that I really want to go to? Is there somebody there that I haven't seen before? Is there a business that I've been wanting to check out? Because there's always like so many things that you can do.
For sure. And so like when I know that you said, you for the first month you kind of recapped what you were sharing privately, and then you kind of really started to gain traction and build this following. What is your favorite thing about running like CC Bucket List? What's your favorite thing about doing that?
I think my favorite thing is when, someone's like, "Oh, I didn't even know that was open. I didn't know we had that here." I think when someone makes that comment and tags somebody else, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, this account is what it is doing what it's meant to do. Like it's just outreach. It's trying to get everyone, like go outside of your comfort zone, go to a place that you haven't been to yet, try something new, take a friend. Don't, I bite the bullet. I go alone most times and I'm like, okay, I'll check it out for everybody and I'll let you know how it goes. And so, because I think sometimes a lot of families are like, oh, I've always seen that that's an annual event, but I've never gone, I've never tried it. And so, I've kind of with the bucket list has really brought me out of my comfort zone because the first year that I did it, it really was solo. It was everything I was doing was by myself. I was just curious because I'd never been to local businesses and local shops, and I was just had this curiosity. And so now it kind of stayed with me that I want to continue learning about the people that live here in our community and what they have to offer, that it doesn't hinder me anymore. It doesn't keep
Yeah.
me from venturing out. And so I like being able to share, like, this is what I saw, this is who I met, this is the things that they had. So it's I love just being able to have a new perspective on things for people.
So I know that you highlight things like local food, drink, shopping, and just like events and like general. What was like one of the first things? Was it kind of, did you aim to be like what they call like a foodstagram or like a Instafood? Like what was one of the first things you really would like emphasize, or is it more about like the places you went?
For me, it was just, I guess it was more so like a travel blog, and I wanted it to be for people that were coming to Corpus, that were vacationing in Corpus, and I wanted them to have, you know, an idea of places to go that were not your fast food chains,
Yeah.
that were not, you know, the ones that are well known, that are in every city. I wanted them to be able to see when they come to Corpus, like, you can only eat at this restaurant. It's only local, it's only here, and it's going to have the best of the food that it has to offer. And so it was more of like, when someone comes to travel, well, they're not just going to eat. What else? They like, they're going to try to find things to do. They're going to want to find souvenirs. They're going to want to find. So it was just an all around. Like, I wanted to have, if anybody came to Corpus, a good experience from beginning to end, no matter what they were doing in their day. And for me, like, I'm just a lover of food. And the only thing I don't like are olives. So I'll eat anything, and I love spice and I love flavor. So, like, I'm always excited to try something new or try something that I've never had before. And that's like, I guess, where I became a food blogger because I'll eat, I tell you, I'll eat anything. But the same thing too. I'm a shopper. I love to shop, but I love to find deals. I love shopping where I can find a good deal, a good bargain. Like, I think that's why I go to so many vintage shops, is because I'm like, oh my gosh, I found this here for this price. Like, it was a one of a kind. So I like finding things that are unique. And then, I just, other than eating, like, I can't eat all the time. So, I like having things to do. Like, I have to go walk it off at this festival, or I have to go try, something outdoors just to stay active. So it just kind of fell in, like everything kind of just balanced itself out.
Yeah, and I was like, I've gone to your page like on a weekend where I'm off because I rarely get a lot of weekends off because I'm a manager in retail. But I when I do get weekends off, I'll go to your blog, like to your Instagram. I say blog, but it's a visual blog basically. That's what I kind of call Instagram. And I'll go to your page and I'm like, what am I gonna do? And I'll like look through your feed. I'm like, huh, I'm gonna go to this brewery today. Or you know what, I'm gonna go here. And like even like you said, people that come to Corpus, you want them to have like a guide. It's even for people like me that I've lived here my entire life. And I'm like, huh, I need some ideas. Like, I don't want to just do like the normal stuff. Like, we all have our favorite coffee shops. We all have our favorite restaurant. But sometimes I'm like, you know what, let's like change it up a bit. And so I'll go to like a page like like yours. And there's a few others that I follow here locally that I'm like, all right, what am I doing this weekend? Let me find out. Like, especially if I only have one weekend off a month, you know what I mean? So
Yes. No, and
for
it was super helpful for, yeah, like you're saying, like, for locals. A lot of
yes.
locals don't know about the breweries and things that are going on, and so it's also like very helpful for. That's one thing that prompted me to create the account as well. Is that after the year, it was like friends and family were like, "Oh man, I wish I could have shown this to somebody else, or I wish I could have shared it with someone."
What would you say is one of the toughest things or the hardest things, I guess, or most challenging things about running a blog like yours?
I think the hardest part is that, when people meet me and they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's so cool. You get to do this all day." And I'm like, "This is not my full-time job." you know? And I have to tell them, like, "No, like, this is just like, this is what I do on the weekends. This is for fun. Like, this is my passion project." And so they're like, "What? You don't do that full time?" I'm like, "No, like, I teach. I'm an educator. I teach. That's my Monday through Friday, so all week, I'm in my classroom and I'm working. And so my weekends are the time where I get to go out and explore. And I use the bucket list. That's how I, de-stress, and how I get to hang out with friends and catch up with adults, especially because I teach primary. I teach the younger kids, teach 5-year-olds that, I've talked to 5-year-olds all day. So I look forward to the weekends when I get to talk to adults.
And have an
you know?
adult conversation, right? You're not like,
Yes.
you have to like get away and have some youth. It's a way for you to create you time, but it just happens to be also, it's like a two for one. Like you're enjoying yourself, but you're also spreading the word about the community and doing something you like. So that's
Yes.
funny because like I would probably, I knew that you were an educator, but I would probably like if I didn't know that, just looking at it, I'd be like, oh, this is her full time job. Like I would think that in my.
Yes. And so the hardest part is, especially during the school year, while I'm working, the hardest part is I only have Friday, Saturday, Sunday to get out, explore, create content. And so that's the hardest part, is like making the most of my weekend. And, and you can't do it all. You can't go everywhere. So I love the times when I do have my breaks, when we're on our break, because it's kind of like I already in my mind, I'm already planning out the week, like my whole week off. Like, I can't wait to go here. I'm going to go here. So that's the hardest part, is during the school year, because the summer was fun. The whole summer I was off and I was doing stuff and made the summer bucket list and everything. But
So when do you have time, or when do you make time for, you know what, I'm wearing pajamas and Netflix? Because I like yesterday I almost lost my voice because it was my day off, and the last 2 days were my days off, and I recorded in the last 2 days I think 17 podcasts, and I've like have a scratchy voice because I've been talking so much, and I think like I said I've almost lost my voice, and I have hard time like telling myself like, you know what, log off, because if I'm not recording, I'm creating content like social media content and planning it and getting that scheduled for like right now I'm scheduling for like November and December. But when do you have time? Because you're an educator, that takes a lot. I have friends that are teachers and it doesn't stop at school because you have a lot of planning to do beforehand, afterwards, grading and stuff like that. So when does Monica have time to, you know what, I'm gonna sit back and watch a Netflix film? How do you
that is
create
that
time?
is my Monday, Tuesday, and my Thursday, Friday. Wednesday I do run club, and that's kind of like a midweek, like, okay, I get to see my friends, we get to catch up on the week. And I take my dog for a walk because he needs to go for a walk. And so that kind of helps, bring down stress midweek. But definitely like Monday, Tuesday, as soon as I get home from work, I'm watching TV until I go to sleep. And then on Thursday, same thing. Usually Fridays, I don't venture out too much. I go to my parents and I just relax. I catch up with the week with my parents. And then um, really Sunday too. Saturday has to be my day where I go out and do things. But Sunday is kind of like my day where I go to church. I spend time with family. I watch football. You know, if anything on a Sunday, it's like, I'm okay with a brunch. I love
Yeah,
myself a brunch, and I'm always game for a brunch. But that's the good thing about brunch; it ends early, so you have the rest of your day to
recoup.
relax.
To recoup and relax.
Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's important. I think I'm myself trying to find a balance because it's like I work full time and then it's like podcasting. I have a network of podcasters, so I edit like eight. I have a total, I think, eight, almost 10 shows now. And so finding that balance is tough for me because I feel like if I'm not doing something, and I'm also writing books right now. So I feel like if I'm not doing something, I feel like I am wasting time. And so I'm working on that, y'all. My therapist, if you're listening, stay away, dude, stay away. But yeah, I'm glad to hear that you do have time for yourself because I would never have guessed. Like I said, I know being a teacher, not from my personal experience, but I have close friends that are in the education system, and I know it takes a lot out of them. It takes a lot out of them during the week, and so like kudos to you for doing everything that you're doing with like the kids and school and then having time for yourself and the blog. um So, what are just, I guess, a couple of my last questions are, what would you say to someone that is interested in starting up their own kind of visual blog or like a maybe nothing not similar to yours, but in their own kind of version, whether it's like a photography blog or whatever, like their own special niche? What are a couple of tips that you'd give someone?
First, I'd say, find a good group that you get inspiration from. There are bloggers before I created the bucket list account that I was following with fidelity. Like, I just love their aesthetic, I love their style. And, I was always looking at how they were styling things, how they were like angling their pictures, how they were taking pictures of stuff. And I kept that community. Like, I put it all together. I would save, the pictures that I liked because I wanted to see how they did that. I was just trying to learn from the image itself. But for online, it was kind of like finding the group that I got inspiration from, the group that, I liked how they were talking to people. I liked how they were communicating and sharing their stories. And it kind of just built me up. It was kind of like, you learn as you go. And they thankfully were such a great community that they were able to offer help and feedback and suggestions and stuff like that. So definitely I would say, like, find the group that you get inspiration from, and keep looking to them for that.
I love that. Yeah, and I was just looking at your Instagram right now, and it's funny because a few, I guess, back in September, you were at a Boss Babes of CC event, and you have a photo, and I was looking, and I'm like, oh my god, I know Jacqueline, I know Alex, I know Esther. Well, I call her Señorita Esther, and
Yes.
I'm like, oh my god, like literally, like I've talked to all these women, and I'm like, when you're saying all this, I'm like, man, it's weird. It's just like kind of like a full circle because like you're just saying like find that those people that you can draw inspiration from, and everyone there in that picture almost that I've met or have interviewed, it's like everyone has said almost the same thing, like find a good group of people that you can look to for inspiration, or surround yourself with like positivity as well. That's a good thing.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
well, I love that, and I love what you're doing. Like I said, I was so excited to have you on. I mean, ever since I met you last year, like I was just like right away. I felt like you. It was sometimes meeting a stranger, is kind of like I don't know, like how's this gonna be. But when I met you, it was you were just like so open, and right away we were like laughing, and it was just like a good time. So I was excited to have you on, and thank you so much for being here again. Um, so now is the time where we come to the podcast where you can plug anything and everything you'd like. So where can people find you? What do you have going on? Now's the time to share that with our listeners.
Oh my gosh. Okay, where am I? Where am I? Okay, I originated on Instagram. I this past summer ventured out into Facebook and TikTok. Still all CC
Awesome.
bucket list. TikTok is still new for me. I'm still learning how to make reels and videos. I think that's the next piece I'm getting inspiration from my fellow friends is how to do it. I feel so old
I
trying to learn how
know.
to do it.
I gave up. I'm like, I'm a boomer. I don't know what's happening here.
Yes. So that's where you can find me. Events coming up. I created a fall bucket list. I'm trying to do it by seasons, and I really want to put the main festivals that we do in the Coastal Bend. I want those to be a part of the seasonal bucket list, so it gives people a date to look forward to, something they can save the date for. So I'm excited. I started that in the summer, and I created a fall one. So I'm excited to keep it going for winter and spring and see what pops up or what events are there. So that's what I have going on. That's my latest scoop.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And for our listeners, I will have Monica's Instagram and Facebook pages and TikTok in the show notes. So all you'll have to do is click on it on your device, and it'll take you directly to her um, platforms. I'm making it that simple for you guys. Make sure you give her a follow if you are not following her already. And one last thing for our listeners, wherever you are listening, please head out into your community, do something good, and make a positive change. Thank you so much again, Monica, and everyone have a great day.
Thanks, guys. Bye.